Today I'm going to talk about different types of variables that are used in Java. So if you're completely new in Java, this is like I would say this is like a basic setup or like a basic template that you could use to program like a basic code. So Java is object-oriented language, which means it consists lots of classes, and like the way and the types of classes like they interact with each other, it makes a certain type of output that you might want to get. So it's important to understand how those different types of classes work together with like other classes, and I'll talk about that furthermore in my videos. But today we're going to talk about something really basic. How does the Java deal about the variables? So as you think, there are different type of variables. There could be like numbers, there could be like words, and if you have any experience in other languages, you might think of like booleans, which consists like true or false. In Java, you have to declare the type of the variable first, and then you store a corresponding value that fit in that declared variable type, and that's how the Java works. So the different types of variables that Java support is integer, where it's like the whole number 3, 4, 9, 8, something like that, and double, which is used for let's capitalize double, which is used for numbers that has decimal values like 3.45, I guess like 6.78 long, for a really massive number like this, but we barely use it. And words, so we call that string, and it could be really long words, and it could just be like one letter. And remember, when you use the string variables, you have to include the parentheses like this, whether before or the end of your designated string value. And you could also type like 4554. In this case, this 54 will not be interpreted as a numerical value, but it'll more likely to be considered as a string value, which means is that it's just a word with the numbers. And lastly, as we talked about booleans, for booleans there are only two types of variables, which is true or false. So the way to declare this types of value is that for integer, it would be int as short. Double would be double, but all in lowercase. Long would be long. String would be string. And then boolean would be boolean as well. It should be the first letter should be capitalized. My bad. So the way to declare these values is that you first initialize by declaring the types of your variable. So for example, if I want to declare 4, you write int, and then the name of the variable, I'll say just a, would equal 4. Remember, in every statement that you make in Java, you have to include the semicolon to represent the end of that statement. So int a would equal 4. So we just created a variable called a, which stores the value of 4. Let's do one more. Let's say double equals 3.87. What's wrong about this? Yeah, we didn't really initialize the name of the variable. So let's say b. And then one more. Yeah, the semicolon. Sometimes people find really annoying to always keep in these rules, but yeah, it's just the way how computer science works. So since we initialize those kind of variables, let's do one more. String c would be, say, like ABC. And we could also print like boolean true, truth would equal true. So in the variable names, as long as it's not taken, you could pretty much use any variable names. But remember that you cannot start the variable name with the number, like 3 truths equals true. This will give you the error, as you can see over here. So, but truth 3 would work. Okay, so since we declared different types of variables, why don't we go through the part where you can actually print it out. The process of printing out may seem really easy and not that important, but even if you have a amazing code that would solve word problems, but if there's no printing method in there, that code is just useless. That can't do anything. It will just work in the inner computer level, but it will not give you any designated your expected output. So it's always important to know how to print out the variables. So when we print out, we use system.out.print in parentheses, remember semicolon. So whatever the value that is in the parentheses will be the value that will be printed out. So we can just directly print it out on some numbers like this. See. Or we can use the variables we already created. So that's not the system the print. Let's say a. Then it'll print out the 4 at the end. But readability wise, this just looks like a whole number of 4,384. So to solve that problem, we could use system.out.println, which is used for numbers, which is used to print the variable on the next cursor. Which that means is that after printing 438, the cursor will be right here. So the whatever that next value is, it will be printed out right after the cursor, right? But if it say print ln, it moves the cursor after. Oh, I can do it right now, but remove the cursor onto the next line on a completely new next line. So in that way you can separate and visually like see which number is which more easily. So we want to print 438 and then A. So if we move the cursor to the next line, then it will be more easily done in a readability wise. And then one thing I also want to mention is that we often use print ln more than print, because like I mentioned before, the readability wise it is way more easier to like interpret the different values, because I don't think it would be a common case where there would be only one case we have to like print it out. There would be multiple cases, so it'll help us from like all the values merged together, so we can even like know which is which. So if you run the code, we get a beautifully done 438 and 4. And also system the out of print ln, that's interesting because you can like do mathematical work inside the parentheses and it will print out whatever the value or whatever the answer of that calculation is. So if you add A and B, it should be 7.8387, right? So if you add the values inside the parentheses, it will print out the designated value 7.87, which is really interesting. And yeah, you can print out string as well. Remember when we declare string value, we need this parenthesis to indicate it is a string value, but we don't have to put the parenthesis for the actual variable. So we can just print out C like this. What this will do is it will bring out the string value that is concatenated with the parentheses. So like this. And at this point, you might wonder how these variables or how these methods that I previously taught you, like system.out.println, or the rules that you have to use the semicolon every single time, which may annoy you because sometimes like you forget it and you get some errors message like all the time, or like the class functions, like how does this, what does this mean, and like how does this work. I'll talk about this topics in the next upcoming videos. So yeah, to summarize, there are different types of variables in Java that it supports, and yeah, there are lots of ways to like play around with those variables and then furthermore print it out to like actually make the code work. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.